And now, let's talk about win number one with Zack Tawatari and Luis Ortiz, as well as the one, the only, and original Texan, Seth Payne from Sports Radio 610. Good to see you, Seth.
Good to see you guys. This is as excited as I've been on a Sunday in about 6 months, whenever the last whenever the last victory was.
That makes sense. So let's start this season with our satisfaction survey again, which is on the big board. What do we think of this one? Everything from very satisfied to very unsatisfied. Seth, you're going first, and Zack, you're marking Seth's survey for us.
All right, Zack, don't mess this up. Look, I am very satisfied. I fully recognize there are some blemishes in this game. The coverage errors have got to go. Pass protection needs to be cleaned up. But they took some blows and they came back, and despite a blocked punt, which does give you about a 10% chance of winning an NFL game, they came out and ultimately ran the ball when they needed to run the ball, which is something this team hasn't been able to do in a long, long time. So thank you, Joe Mixon. Thank you, offensive line. Good job today.
All right, I'm so happy I get to go second this time. And Seth, how could I not agree with you? Also, very satisfied. Felt like a complete Texans win today, and we got to see those new additions come up in big ways. Obviously, the running game, the biggest of those, with the fact that Joe Mixon was able to come in and give Texans something they didn't have last year, a physical running back, and we saw what a difference that made.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go just a bit below you guys. I'm going to say satisfied. I'm not trying to be negative here, but the defense, I don't want to say I was disappointed, but the big plays, come on, they gave up 2 big touchdowns, over 50 yards each one. And then, we were expecting a little bit more from them. However, offensively, yes, great game. C.J. Stroud shared the ball with everyone, all of his weapons. I think everyone's happy. Stephon Diggs scored the touchdowns. Nico Collins was the leader in yards, and we know what Joe Mixon did.
Yeah, I'm going to say satisfied as well, Luis. Things weren't as crisp as you would like to see. Granted, I know it's game number one, and then you had some penalties and some big plays that were given up. So I can't quite go into the very satisfied territory. I think satisfied is satisfactory for right now. As for what DeMeco Ryans was saying after the game, he was very happy about the work by Joe Mixon and the O-line.
Joe, he stepped up big time for us. Well, we needed him to run the ball. He did. They knew it was run. We knew it was run. And he still made the plays.
This is week one. Everybody's rusty. Everybody's rusty. I'm not going to name any names. But, so, I just think, if you can come out week one and get a dub against a divisional opponent, it's huge. You know what I mean? So, I think everybody played well on offense. We just got to stop shooting ourselves in the foot, and we'll keep rolling, man. I think this offense is just getting started.
And here is a look at the quarterback comparison. C.J. Stroud out-dueling Anthony Richardson. And C.J. mentioned the word rusty. I thought the veterans, for the most part, made up for things being rusty. What is your take on that, Seth?
I think that, look, there were some gaffes in the secondary, and then there were also gaffes out of Laramie Tunsil, who we've grown accustomed to the false starts. Unfortunately, I wish that could be fixed, but I think Laramie looked a little bit rusty coming back from his knee surgery. Wasn't quite as typically dominant as a pass protector. Had a few more bad plays than really Laramie Tunsil ever shows in pass protection. So some definite things to clean up between this week and next week, but also some very, very promising signs out of the run blocking, including from Laramie Tunsil.
So when we talk about the running game, was it Joe Mixon? Was it an improved offensive line? Or is it a combination of the two?
I would say it's a combination of those two things, but also the defense of the Colts was very much focused on stopping the pass, and they were sitting back in coverage, so the Texans faced a lot of light boxes. But the Texans' interior offensive line, those guys, specifically Drew Scruggs and Kenyon Green, just because we've been wondering about them, they're not proven veterans yet. They did a great job. And, of course, that was in the run game. Pass protection, they've got some things to clean up without pointing out any one player individually. There's just too many times where they're not on the same page. But for week one, I think there were some really, really positive signs here.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's also combination of both, but more Joe Mixon. I think this is the offensive line that you had last year. Obviously, they weren't all fully healthy for the entire season, but Joe Mixon just showed why they brought him here. You know, he made it look easy. He has that patience. He has the vision. He found the spaces and just made the change of direction at the right time. I think he's just going to be great.
Yeah, same thing for me. I also think it was Joe Mixon. We didn't see this level of physicality with the running back last year. Here he was finishing off plays, getting extra yards, breaking tackles. Yes, he had lanes to run in, but again, like Luis said, this is a very similar offensive line to what the Texans had last year. We saw what could happen with a very physical back.
And it's also his ability to catch passes out of the backfield. I think that can help loosen up a defense, if you will. So the fact that he is so skilled and has multiple skills, I think that definitely helps him. And Seth, is it too much to ask Joe Mixon to do this each and every week?
That's what you wonder and you worry about. That's why it was nice to see Dameon Pierce with several nice runs today. So we had a lot of questions about Dameon Pierce. I don't think he's going to get a bunch of touches over the next couple of weeks, but you don't necessarily want to lean on Joe Mixon as heavily as they had to. I think the one thing that'll change from week to week is, hey, there's going to be some defenses that feel like they can stop the run and they'll focus on the pass like the Colts errantly did today. But then there's also going to be defenses that just are very much focused on trying to stop the run. The important thing is that they have a 1-2 punch now. And like those guys mentioned, it is Joe Mixon's ability to take the plays where there isn't good blocking and make something out of it. We haven't seen that in quite a few years.
I'm not particularly concerned about what happened at the end of the first half because it seems like such a rare occurrence, but it appears that the communication from the refs could have been better. Do you think that's what happened, Seth?
There was a lot of confusion. I mean, to the point where I don't think anybody on the broadcast knew exactly what would happen. Had happened. They had to clear it up afterwards. But the report is that they told the quarterback that the clock would be running. I don't know how that message was relayed. Look, the referee had already demonstrated that he doesn't have the best communication skills. So I trust CJ in that instance.
When you come on and say, "My apologies, everyone."
At least I manned up to
I like
it, right?
the transparency.
Yeah, exactly. Guys, defensively, was there anything glaring that you saw in this game that the two of you, before we get to Seth, that you feel like this really needs to be shored up?
I think the several big plays that we talked about earlier, it's a little bit disconcerting because so much emphasis has been placed on this secondary. So I think you didn't necessarily expect them to give those up. But at the same time, you're playing against Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, and to go piggyback off of that, Kamari Lassiter got beat bad on one play, like really bad, So I mean, what you mentioned, we were expecting, a lockdown defense from this secondary. We're talking about Derek Stingley Jr., Kamari Lassiter. So I think that was a big factor, and also just I'm thinking stopping the run, they did a great job, but the passing, that's where they need to improve.
We're not done talking Texans, no. We're continuing here on Sports Extra as the big show rolls on. Having just seen what the Bears did against Tennessee, are we more worried about Caleb Williams or that Bears defense, Seth?
I am, until Caleb Williams proves himself as an NFL quarterback, which he didn't quite do today. I'm going to be worried about that Bears defense, especially when you saw some of the opportunities that the Colts had for opportunistic plays they came up just shy on. Those possibilities remain versus a good defense, especially if the pass protection is an issue next week the way it was this week. So as CJ mentioned, the offense looks a little bit rusty. I think let's clean up. Let's get the old WD-40 out and spray the hell out of it this week.
I'm with you, Seth. Until you see the results on your screen, on paper, I'm going to say that Bears defense, that's what you have to be worried about if you're the Texans.
Yeah, and then, Seth mentions the offense, right? Rusty, but they almost scored 30 points, and that's a rusty offense. So how about when they start clicking, getting things going? And also, I think you got to worry about more guys than just one. So, I think the defense, you got to worry more about them when you're talking about 5, 7 guys or however many of them instead of just one guy beating you.
Yeah, I'm worried about the Bears defense for sure, not Caleb Williams, as of right now, at least. I think that When you look at this week, number of plays that could have gone a different way, and if C.J. Stroud's going to be running around there in the pocket because he doesn't have great pass protection, it's only a matter of time before some mistakes happen.
Well, we've just put a bow on the Texans and Colts. And as always, Seth Payne, thanks so much for being with us here on Sports Extra.
Hey, I love being with you guys, whether it's a win or a loss, but especially after a win.